G'day and welcome to Dave's Model Workshop. Today I'm going to show you two methods for applying decals or graphics to your scale models using plain old A4 copy paper. Nothing special, no special decal paper. Both of them have their pluses and their minuses, and they're really cheap and effective. So let's get stuck in with method number one. Because I love to save money. I love to be cheap when I can. So, it's a really easy technique. I know, I had a mate tell me about this a long time ago, and I kind of went, oh yeah, that sounds pretty amazing. And I know it's fairly popular in the model railroad world, and I think there's also a bit of it in the world of customizing Hot Wheels, which I didn't even know was a thing until quite recently. There's definitely one or two people out there who are doing it, so total ups to them, total respect to them. I did not come up with this technique, I'll be the first to say. But I don't think it's very common in the scale model world. So I thought, rather than you guys not knowing about it, let's share the knowledge. So like I said, I didn't come up with this, but gee, it's good to know. So what I've got here, this is for my sand scorcher that I'm building at the moment, my big remote control Tamiya sand scorcher, and the license plates. So we've got little styrene license plates that go on the body, and this is the decal that comes with the kit. So these two down the bottom, the Baja bug, Baja bug, they're fine, but they're not what I want. One of the things I'm trying to do is make my car look as sort of original 1970s as possible. It is the modern re-release, and this has got a 2010 date on it. I don't want that, and also I want something personalised. So we'll get rid of that. What I have got is a sheet that I've printed out on plain old A4 paper, and you can see I've already done a couple of tests just to make sure it works, and cut them out, done them elsewhere. And I did a few sizes. So basically what I've done is I've gone through, found myself a photo online of a Californian license plate from back in the 70s. I've used Photoshop, flipped it backwards, and I've typed my own name on there. I found a cool font for that. I can't remember the name of the font, but I'll type its name in here so you can see it. And yeah, found a cool font, typed it in Photoshop, reversed the image, and printed it out. Measure the size that you want. That looks pretty good to me. I did some size I thought it would be, some that were a bit bigger, some that were a bit smaller, just in case. But yeah, the size I measured seems to be the right size for what I'm needing. So all it's going to be is a matter of cutting out a couple of these, getting the bits that I want to stick them to, and then the magic starts. Now I'll give you a couple of important, how-tos about this, or a couple of important techniques that you need to know. One, this works best on a white background. So if you want to apply a decal to a dark background, a blue or a black, or even a red or a yellow, it's going to be a little bit funky. It's not going to work as well. This really does work best on a white background. If you wanted something like this to be on, say, the side of a black car, I would actually paint a little white section on the side of the car and then apply your decal to that. That's how I would get around that. It really doesn't work so well on a darker colour or on anything other than white. But yeah, other than that, and the other thing is, look, it's not quite as crisp and as beautiful as an actual waterslide decal. So, there's waterslide decal paper out there. If you've got the nous to digitally prepare the files, if you want to shell out the bucks for a waterslide decal, that's great. No problems. I think that's actually going to give you a better result every single time, I won't deny. But if you're a cheap bastard like me, and you only want to do two little tiny things, it's not worth wasting a whole big sheet for two things. If I just printed two of those on one big A4 sheet of waterslide decal paper, not worth it. So, for you cheap buggers like me, this is the way to go. Alright, so let's get the magic happening. We're going to go outside. I'm going to trim two of these off. Trim as close to the actual printed area as you can. You don't want to leave too much around the outside. Going to trim them off and then head outside and make the magic begin. Here we are outside. It's a bit of a cold winter's day here in Melbourne. So here are my little soon-to-be decals, trimmed, pretty close, not exactly close, but as close as I can get them. And That's where they're going to sit on the plate inside that little ridge. And the next ingredient is spray varnish. Now look, it doesn't really matter, you know, exactly what spray varnish you use. Just get something that's, you know, fairly standard and fairly gentle. You don't want anything that is too hardcore. I found this at Bunnings, which is a hardware store here in Australia, and you just want gloss varnish, gloss aerosol varnish. And the next step is to spray these guys so that they get a decent coating, not crazy thick so that it's running and glooping and pooling everywhere, but just a decent coating. Here's one, and this stuff sticks like hell. Yep, there you go. Probably can't see that, but it's enough to cover it. And we're going to leave these for about 20 minutes until they're tacky dry. So you don't want to leave them until they're perfectly dry. You want them to still be a bit tacky to the touch. There's two. And with these little guys, with the pieces of paper, you want it so that they're covered and it kind of soaks through them. So you'll know it's soaked through when you look on the back and you don't see that sort of whitish bit down the bottom there. Hasn't done it down the bottom. So here it's got soaked through. Down the bottom here still needs a little bit more. Well, try not to drop them. Trying to put fingerprints all over them so you can see there where it's not yet done on this edge. Yeah, now we're good. If I turn that over, there's my neighbour taking his bins out. If you turn that over, that's going to soak through pretty quickly. And the last one here. My hands are going to be so sticky, and there's power tools, so it's just as well it's time to leave these for 20 minutes and let them get tacky and keep them out of the dust and the wind as well, which is what I'm going to do next. Alright. Now we're in the bathroom, so it's going to be a bit echoey. Sorry guys. So this is where the other amazing bit comes in, and this is also my second caveat to you guys, my second proviso. You need to make sure that this piece, the piece of plastic, is thick enough to not melt when you heat it with a hairdryer, because heating it with a hairdryer is what will bond these two varnish surfaces together. So these have been drying for about 20-25 minutes now, and they're tacky to the touch. So I'm going to put my varnished side against my varnished side and make sure it's on the right way. You really only get pretty much one go at this, so make it count. Alright, so that's already pretty sticky. That's not coming off. So they're still tacky to the touch, like I said. Once that's on, grab a hairdryer and heat it so those two surfaces, those two varnishes, really meld together. I'm going to grab a hairdryer and do that. Here's my second one, done exactly the same, just stuck it down with my fingers, and now I'm going to hair dry it, whatever. I'm going to get the hairdryer onto it. Right, so the next thing you want to do is wet your decals in water, cold, normal cold water, and then gently start rubbing away at the paper. So what you're trying to achieve here is, you know, when paper gets wet, it kind of gets fibrous and kind of falls apart and kind of rolls under your fingers as it falls apart. That's the effect you're trying to achieve here. So you want to do it gently enough that you're not using your fingernails to scrape away, but you're just gently using friction between the skin of your fingers and the wet paper to roll it and roll it and roll it. And you can see here, starts to come away. Work from the center towards the edges. Don't work from the edges because that will generally pull up the decal as well. So work from the center outwards, and just over time, this took maybe 5 minutes in real time. This is quite sped up, but yeah, over time it comes away and you get
the effect here of a full decal. And yeah, you can see I'm kind of using my fingernail right on the edge there just to get rid of that little bit towards the edge, but I'm still working from the center outwards, yeah, it's really satisfying. It's a bit boring, but it's really satisfying. And you can see, once the paper comes away, you're left with that beautiful decal that was varnished on the inside. It's the best.
So here's the results of the first version. Look, it's good if you're after a really worn and weathered, sorry about the birds in the background, if you're after a really worn and weathered effect, it's great. It's a really good system. And it's also very good if you have something that needs to be quite flush with the surface that you're going to be applying the decal to. Now, as you can see, these number plates have a slight lip. They've got a raised surface, and I'm going to use that to my advantage for the second method. So straight on to the second method. So the second method for applying decals when you don't have any decal paper and you just want to use plain old paper, is to use a raised lip around whatever you're applying, or to have a decal that's going to sit a little bit raised from the surface it's applied to, so it's not going to be flush. But this does give you a less weathered effect, so it's not quite as beaten up as these. Like this one, yeah, it's pretty good. I could live with that, it's not bad. But this one, you know, it's pretty beaten up. It might need to do a little bit of retouching to get some focus. Might need a bit of retouching. And, you know, I could keep wearing away at that paper, but it's starting to take off the print with it. So my idea for the second one, I'm not going to do anything more to these, is to use the same materials, same gloss, and same design printed on same old paper, but this time, as you can see, it's not reversed, so it's printed the right way around. So I'm going to cut two of these out and get stuck in and show you. So you can see the difference in the quality, and you can see the sort of the loss of resolution using the reversed method, which again is great for a weathered effect. Love it. But yeah, like I said, I'm going to use that little lip to my advantage here and hide the fact that this is a piece of paper stuck onto a surface. So basically exactly the same technique. I'm going to spray both the plastic and the paper with the clear varnish, and then stick them together, and then varnish over the top. And use a hairdryer, varnish over the top, and it's basically like a sticker, effectively. Print your own stickers. So yeah, I'm going to spray them again. I'm just going to do this off camera so I don't get varnish all over my actual camera. And exactly the same as last time. Just want to make sure you've covered it all, and that it's kind of soaked through. So that's sprayed, it's pretty much soaked through. I'm going to put it to one side and let that dry. Just plonk it over there, and the same with the other one, and the same with the two pieces of plastic. So using the same technique and getting that same adhesive effect. And that's now sprayed, as well as all over my fingers. Put that aside. We'll do the same for the other two. Come back in 20 minutes and stick it down. So after about 20 minutes, these are my two. So this one I'm not going to muck about with hair dryers and stuff like that. Purely putting it in place, very, very gently going to press down so it doesn't leave massive fingerprints all over it, because that is the last thing you want. That's looking pretty good. And then more of this stuff. More spray varnish. Again, just going to do it off camera. One corner's poked up just a tiny bit, so I'm just going to push that down. And basically that spray varnish is turning into a glue for me. Now I'm going to leave that to dry. It's getting a bit dark out here, so I'm going to call it a day. It's getting a bit dark for camera work here. But yeah, you can see that. Keeps coming up at this corner here, but I'll just spray more varnish on. Up the top there. That should solve the problem. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Let's leave it to dry. And here is the final result. So the bottom one, the one at the bottom of the screen, is the one that I did with the first method, making it much more of a transfer, much more of a decal. And the top one is the one that I did, making it more of a sort of sticking paper onto plastic. Don't know what you want to call that. Look, they both have their pluses and their minuses. You can see it's a lot smoother texture on the top one compared to the bottom one, so if you wanted like a really smooth surface, that's probably your way to go. The top one does have some limitations of, you need to hide that ridge. If I didn't have that little lip around the outside of that number plate, that little frame, then that would really stand out, whereas the bottom one is very much more stuck to the surface and conforms to the contours of the actual shape that you're putting it onto. The bottom one feels a bit more weathered. The top one is a little crisper perhaps, but yeah, look, they're both useful techniques, and that varnish really, it's like an amazing glue. I love it. So I hope this has been helpful to you. If you have any questions, please chime in below. I guess the other bonus for the top one is that you can stick it onto a darker surface, but really it needs something to disguise that edge. Yeah, hope this has been helpful. Please chime in below if you do have comments, and if you haven't already considered it, please think about becoming a member of the Mod Squad, my Patreon supporters. You get 10% off at a range of model retailers, and it's just, it's a great way to help support the work that I do and get something in return, because I like to give back to you guys. Yeah, thanks guys, thanks for watching, and I'll chat to you next time. See you later.